And we should be live. Welcome back, everybody, to the continuation of our live stream from earlier. We got a few fixed up and then started Steve's here and confirmed their symptoms with way too much DC offset on the multimeter. And then we had to step away for a bit. But we are back and we are ready to go. Is our multimeter working? Yes, it is. Excellent. Okay. Up first, so we've already confirmed our issue and we know what we need to get fixed on this. Let's let Steve here know that we are finishing theirs up now. Okay. Let's get that out of the way. We've already tested this and seen too much DC voltage coming from the amp, which means our filter caps have lost their magic. So we're gonna get this amplifier out, give it some new filters, and then a new power diode while we're here. So more likely than not, got a diode that will prematurely fail if it's got that date code 1746K or 1748K, but we're going to go ahead and replace it regardless of what date code it has. Alright, first up, let's take care of the main event, what this came in for. Those bad filters causing or allowing too much DC voltage through, resulting in an unwanted amount of DC voltage, triggering the amp into death farting on them. Alright, well, you want to go over there? You can go over there. No problem. You, however, I want you to go right here. And I want you to stay there. Very nice. Anything touching anything that shouldn't be touching? No, that looks great. So we're going to flip this around. Take a look at that Schottky barrier diode. What date code do we have on there? 1746K. That's a code that we normally see failing. So let's give it a new power diode while we're in here, so we don't see this thing coming back in a few months from now when this part fails and causes no power. Alright, I gotta admit, for a $40 USB 4K camera, the fact that it's able to pick up and see the heat waves in the air here. I don't know if that's coming through to you guys, but I can see the image here warping from the heat. Pretty cool. Decent little camera. Hey Martin, welcome back. We checked the offset on this right before we ended the last stream, and you were pretty close. It ended up being 525 millivolts on a cold start, which is closer than my 666 guess. So, good job. Someone's been working on their HomePods. Oh yeah, it's the weather's starting to heat up, so hopefully, in the past, even when I've raised the thermal tolerance on my Sony camera, it loves to shut down when it gets too hot. So hopefully this coming summer that won't be too much of a problem for us. Okay, let's start chucking this back together and give it a test. you joker. There we go. All right. What you got? Good, good. Yes. Excellent offset. We used to have 525 millivolts and growing, and now we're holding relatively steady at around 1 millivolt now. That is great news. There should no longer be any concerns for death farts on this one, at least for a long time coming. These replacement capacitors should outlast the ones that Apple used, and should last for at least 3 to 5 years. That's a very low end guess there. I'm kind of expecting them to last for probably 5 to 7, upwards of 10 years. Other things are going to break on the HomePod if they're still even usable by then, before these filters should give up again on us. But that said, it is an inherent property of these ceramic capacitors for them to lose their effectiveness at filtering this DC voltage over time. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of time before an issue like this were to happen again, and it is a problem that theoretically will affect every single HomePod. But that said, get better quality filters in there. They should last longer, and like I was saying earlier, probably longer than the usability of the rest of the speaker. Oh, Mike, welcome. Hello, hello. Okay, and then before I screw the subwoofer down, let's just make sure we're not missing any other screws or nothing inside that needs to be attached. But everything looks good, so let's drop the subwoofer back in and finish this this repair. I hate this adhesive. Stupid, useless trash. Why'd they glue these things together? Well, y'all know the answer why, but you don't need to answer that. Kids. Kids. Listen to the rap music. Kids, listen to the rap music. What do you like to play? Pokemon. You see, the kids listen to the jazz, which gives them the brain damage. You see, with their hipping and the hopping and the bipping and the bopping, so they don't know what the jazz is all about. You see, jazz is like Jello pudding. No, actually, it's more like Kodak film. I had an uncle named Stewie, and he used to sell bicycles. Cuckoo-ca-choo! Zip-zap, zoop-a-doo-bop, down the slope. Do you remember what he looked like? Holy shit, I'm losing my mind. I can kind of understand the argument and the reason behind laptop manufacturers. I'm going to go ahead and just give a contrarian opinion here on removable laptop batteries. Honestly, the majority of people didn't fuck with it. They didn't care. The battery, like they didn't. Most people didn't buy second batteries and deal with swapping the batteries, even if it was an option or something they could do with their laptops. In addition to that, it takes up potential space to add additional battery capacity built into the one that you've got, having to build extra casing and support around making a battery removable from a laptop. So for the average consumer, it makes a lot of sense to drop the ability to hot swap a battery, or just to be able to swap a battery out without taking it apart, in trade for a slightly higher capacity for the battery that it does come with. And of course, you know, that doesn't, there's of course use cases where you, or people that are totally use hot swappable or replaceable batteries, and there are still laptops out there that do that, of course. You've got like the Panasonic Toughbooks and what have you. But I think it was, I honestly, I think it was an okay move for general consumer laptops. I think it was a worthy trade-off, and especially when you, excuse me, look at how thin and light they're trying to make them now. I'm not a huge fan of like making something like super razor thin and light, but I do see the benefit in having something somewhat reasonably portable and it's not breaking your back or whatever. So, and I just think the demand for it, most people really just didn't use it, so they were like, why do we need to add this extra complexity for this thing that most people don't end up actually using? I would have probably punched myself in the face if me now had told me back then that when MacBooks moved to non-removable batteries and what have you. I would have probably fought myself. But you will never convince me that removing the 3.5mm auxiliary jack on a device is that's stupid. There's no explaining that. Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't think that it should be difficult. Like, it should still be a matter of removing a bottom panel from the laptop and maybe a few extra screws. I'll live with an adhesive strip or two if I have to get a battery replaced in a laptop. But like you said, don't put it like under a million pieces that you're gonna have to break in order to get to. And actually, coming up, I've got one of my coworkers at my day job whose Surface Pro 5 needs a new battery replacement, and he's giving me a Canon VB-M50B PTZ network camera in trade for replacing the battery in his Surface Pro for him. And I looked at the process, and it's it'll be worth it. But lots of glue and heat and prying and hoping that you don't break anything. Prying and praying.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Very good. Siri. Hello. Talk to me, Goose. Did Siri just have a stroke? Yeah, I think she did. Let's just let this run for a minute here again, just to make sure that Siri was having a moment there and we're not dealing with some real issue.
I'm having trouble connecting to the
That's
internet.
okay.
I'm having trouble connecting.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Volume buttons light up nice and even, so Siri got a little confused there, but that's perfectly normal when you're turning her off and turning her on and off so many times, and she can't connect to the internet on top of that. Be patient with Siri, especially when she's running on older iPhone 6 hardware like this. But volume buttons light up nice and even. We've still got, what's the weather?
I'm having trouble connecting to the
She
internet.
talks to us, so we will be sure to leave this plugged in to test overnight, just in case there's anything else that pops up, but it appears that is all fixed up and ready to go. So that brings us to the next repair. Let's see what we've got here. We've got one from Gil, all the way from Israel. That is insane. We've got people shipping us HomePods from Israel to get fixed up because it's, well, that's the best way to do it still. That's the only way some people can do it. They can't buy these things. They have to pay more than they're worth to ship them back and forth just to get what they've got fixed. Yee! Alright. So let's pull up their email, find out what we're dealing with here. Alright. So we've got another one with no base. Okay. Gil has been emailed. Let's get their name up on the screen. And here we go. First things first, let's check our symptoms here. Looks like they've got it already factory reset. The light came up right before I touched it, so we'll get a chance to hear from the setup tone that it plays if its bass is good or not.
Your HomePod is about to reset. Keep pressing.
Oh yeah.
Until you hear 3 beeps.
That is a lack of bass, alright. So, we've confirmed we've got no bass. I actually need to step away for just a minute. Grab a drink, take a minute to step outside and smoke whatever it is that you smoke. And we will be back in give me 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. Welcome back. So we've confirmed this one definitely has no base. Let's get it taken apart and see what's going on from the inside. Ooh, that is a toasty bass speaker. So, you see that, how it's like darker in the middle than it is the rest of this dust cover here? That is a sign that this subwoofer had too much DC voltage going into it, which happens to be what we fixed the previous HomePod from Steve for. Those filter caps go bad and allow too much DC through the amp and into the subwoofer speaker, where it ultimately does exactly that. It destroys your bass speaker along with potentially other components on your amplifier. So that's both good and bad news. Good news because we know the issue and we know we can fix this. We can repair the amp and prevent that from happening when we put a replacement subwoofer in this. Which brings us to the slightly bad news, which is their subwoofer is dead, so we'll have to replace this. But repairable nonetheless. Yep, that is destroyed. If we take a little deep look in there, into our voice coil there, you can see it's just like our example here. That's what it should look like, and that's what we don't want it looking like. And it looks like what we don't want it to look like. I don't even want to smell that. I'm not. You can't make me. So, when we go to put this back together, we will grab a working subwoofer, but we don't want to just throw this back together with another subwoofer and call it good. There's a reason usually why that subwoofer dies with these HomePods. And like I was saying, that's too much DC voltage coming from the amp and getting into that bass speaker because of those filter caps going bad. So let's dig a little deeper, get to that amplifier. We'll take some corrective action to prevent this from happening again, and then we'll put it back together. Yeah, it's getting hot in here. The computer fans are kicking up. Alright, are you gonna zoom and focus, or are you just gonna be a dick? You're gonna be a dick. Cool. Please let me focus. That's all I want to do. Okay, well, we're just gonna have to submit some feedback to the developer of this application and let them know that we cannot tap to focus half the time. That's really annoying. Oh my goodness. I wish there was a close all button. I know it won't really accomplish much. Are you gonna let me focus now? No, of course you're not. Ah! Fuck it. We'll just push forward. Okay, here's our amplifier. So first up, let's give it some new filters so that this thing doesn't fry our replacement bass speaker. Beautiful. New filters. No more risk at blowing up our next subwoofer here. We've got a diode with 1742K for a date code, so that doesn't normally fail and cause no power, but we are still going to replace it, just in case. Not something that I would recommend you do if you're just doing this at home. Don't just go willy-nilly replacing parts that are otherwise working just fine, but here we can afford, really the reason why you wouldn't want to just replace parts that aren't working is, well, first of all, it's working just fine. If you don't have a good reason to replace it, don't. And two, we only see diodes with certain date codes failing, so we're doing this more just kind of like a warm and fuzzy feeling for others. As much as, no matter how many times we explain to people that this diode failure is a bad batch of diodes, it still makes people feel better if we replace these anyways, given the failure rate of these diodes. So new ones definitely won't fail. It makes people feel better. It only takes us a few extra minutes of our time, and the big reason why we do it and why you shouldn't is we can afford the risk of making a mistake. This, when you go and replace parts that are working just fine and you have no good reason to, you're just introducing potential, extra potential places for you to make mistakes and create more work for yourself, or, just cause enough damage to where you just say screw it and give up, where you could have just left it alone and you may have been just fine leaving it alone. But we've got the parts and all that, where if we do goof this up, which, I mean, yeah, we've totally goofed up replacing this diode before. We've bumped stuff off, but in those cases it's been pretty easy for us to put these little parts back if we ever misplace them. Other people, especially with less experience, these tiny little parts around here can be very tricky to put back on if you accidentally bump things out of place. So we do it because we can afford the risk, we've got the parts, we've got the experience, and it makes people feel better even if the part itself isn't at risk of prematurely failing like the other date codes for the same part are. That said, if you're working on your own HomePod and it's got a date code 1746K or 1748K, even if it's still working, I would, in that case, strongly recommend replacing it. Okay. Let's put this back together. See if we got everything squared away in one piece again. Okay, let's go grab a good subwoofer since the original one that we saw in here was totally destroyed. And I'll show you what I mean really quick if you are just joining us here. Here is their original bass speaker that we pulled out, and if we look up close in our bass port there, our voice coil is looking quite toasty. Here I've got one of those subwoofer speakers taken apart so you can see a little better. This copper color here on this coil is what we want to see, and this black part is bad. That is not what we want to see. And in here it is absolutely blackened. So that is because our filter caps on the amp went bad and allowed too much DC voltage through before the audio signal was amplified, and that amplified DC voltage was sent to our speaker, overheating it, which you can see by that dark spot in the middle, and killing it. Here we've got a replacement speaker here, and inside, nice and healthy voice coil, silent and smooth when we push in on it, versus the, well, very crunchy and rough time that this thing was having. So, we repaired the board so our replacement speaker here won't experience the same fate in a short period of time. Let's get a good subwoofer put back in here, and we'll be almost done here for this one. All right. Do we have our base back?
Your HomePod is about to reset. Keep pressing until you hear 3 beeps.
That sounds excellent. And it looks like they do have touch for Siri disabled, so I'll ask if they want us to factory reset this and test it overnight, or if they're okay with the results as is. I'm gonna no, screw that. I'm just gonna reset this and test it overnight. I'd rather do that than... Oh. It's already reset. It sounds wonderful too. Well, perfect. We'll set this up tonight, test it. I was just gonna say, I don't want to deal with anybody paying to ship this back and forth from Israel just to have an issue that we didn't catch because we didn't test it overnight. So especially with how involved this repair was, new filters, new diode, new bass speaker, and we want to make sure this thing is really working solid before we ship it all the way back home. But at a glance, it looks like Gil's got their bass back and they are ready to go. So we'll put that to the side, and we've got one more that I think we have time to fix up here today. And that's from Scott over in California. Let's pull up their email and see what we're dealing with there. Another one with no bass. All right. Is it going to be another one just like Gil's here? Thank you in advance. Nick's fixed. HomePod sometimes pops slightly while not playing music, and now also has no bass. So it does seem like to me that this is probably the same issue as Gil. Those filters over time went bad and allowed too much DC voltage to cause damage to the bass speaker until it finally had too much and said, I'm done with this. Now we got a lot of packing material there, but we'll clean that up before we send it back to them. Let's take a quick listen and see if what they said is actually occurring. Ooh, Discord messages. Who dis? Oh.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the home app.
Alright, so no bass at all. Let's get this taken apart and see what's going on. Interesting. I just had an international call from China. I did not accept it. Because I don't know anybody in China. If it's important enough, they'll leave a voicemail. I didn't even know I had international calling on this phone number. Oh! Oh, that is seized. Look at that. I can't even... Oh, no. Oh. Oh, no, 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 no. Look. I push it in, it doesn't even come fully back up. I gotta, like, assist it. Do you hear that? It should not be like that. Amazing. So, same exact problem as the last HomePod that we just fixed from Gil over in Israel. Most likely, that bass speaker died from too much DC offset. So, we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to give this new filters. While we're in here, we're going to give it a new diode for power, just to prevent the more common no power issue. And then we'll put this back together with a good bass speaker. And that should be it. Ow. I just got a metal splinter. Ouch. Yep, so like I was saying earlier, we don't want to just pop a new... Yeah, you shut up. We don't want to just pop another bass speaker in here just because that one was blown up and call it a day. The reason why that bass speaker blows up more often than not is too much DC offset coming from the amp. And that's because those filter caps go bad and allow this to happen. So we're going to give this new filters to prevent the replacement bass speaker that we'll put in this from blowing up and from this coming back to us anytime soon. Hopefully ever. Well, where did that go? Hello? Mr. Screw? I don't see you. There you are. Here we go. Woo! Got a little excited there. Sorry about that. Here we go. First up, let's give this some new filters. We don't want our fresh subwoofer getting killed. Wow. Yeah, that's better. Got a little fixing to do from right here. We accidentally bumped this little resistor right here, trying to reflow, or trying to redo these pads, so let's get our replacement caps on here and take care of all of that in one go. I'm getting in the way. I don't care. All right. Whew. That was intense. We had misplaced two of the tiny little black resistors here. This one, which still needs to be put down, and this one over here. But let's finish that up real quick. Nice. Let's get our filters on. Beautiful. Let me just compare really quick and make sure that that's... Yep. Yeah. Yep. Flipping it around. What date code do we have on our Schottky diode here? Is it one that normally fails? Ooh, 1748K. The failiest of fails for our Schottky diode. That one is almost certain to fail on us, so let's get that replaced before we put this back together and send it back to them. And in a few months, this will, if we ignore this, that's 1748K there. That's the devil's date code for these diodes. You see 1748K, you replace that. I don't care if it's working or not. Replace it or you'll be sorry. Alright, let's run over to our parts and grab another bass speaker. This one, nice and straight, nice and smooth, no funny crunchy noises. Tim, welcome to the stream. Ooh. I have been so deep between repairs, the day job, and taking care of the kid, I didn't even notice that. Right to repair for farmers. Excellent. A step in the right direction. That's to say the least. To say the kindest. Not the kindest. It's cool though. What do we got? Give me that bass.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Yes!
For more info, I'm having trouble connecting.
Volume buttons light up nice and even. So, Scott's HomePod has got its bass back. Same thing as Gil's. We're going to reset it, test it overnight, make sure it's all good to go. And that's all that we're going to have time to get fixed up here today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're looking for more info doing your own HomePod repairs or sending yours in to be fixed up by me here on the channel, visit the website, nixfix.com, where I've got most of that info that you'll be looking for. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed this live stream repair, and I will catch you in the next one.